Okay, here we are. So sorry for the delay. If you live in North America, we have a daylight saving, which means that it used to be 8, but right now it's 9, so it was shifted an hour forward in time. So, which is fine. And it's supposed to be a good thing for other people because we got an hour early, but then for my family, we need to adjust the schedule, and the kids are not adjusting it that well. So that's that. So I try my best to send my kids to bed and stuff, but still a little bit of challenge. So hopefully my 2-year-old will sleep well tonight. Alright, so if you're here, say hi. I know some of you might checked out already, so sorry about that. Well, I'll just get started regardless, and it will hopefully be a very good one. And we're gonna do a evening scenery today of Rome, and I thought that might be interesting because a lot of the painting with Rome is usually during daytime because you can get to see more detail, but I thought a evening scenery might be interesting as well, so we'll see how this goes. Hi Danilo. We're just gonna get started with the drawing, and we'll see if you guys have any question, anything you want to say, feel free to tell me and we'll just get started. Alright, so let me just hide my exhausted face. I'm exhausted, right? I'm looking tired right now. So alright, hi Terry. So let's just get started. Okay, so like any other painting, we'll just start up by doing a drawing, and as always we'll just start with a nice big shape here. Okay, so obviously our main character here is the dome. Now this painting I'm not gonna do any figure and things like that, so should hopefully be a little bit more straightforward, and hopefully it will be a little bit easier. Now the only tricky part is to paint a nice thing in watercolor, which by nature isn't exactly a very natural thing to do, but we'll see how we can pull this off. I don't have 100% of confidence that this will work out, but we'll see, as always. Okay, and so a little bit of arch here. Very loose drawing. Okay, just get the size and placement down. Florida. Okay, it must be really late there, so I thank you for being here with me. Speaking of Florida, I really want to be there right now. It's nice and warm. Although we got some sun and it's a little bit warmer today, but the temperature kind of fluctuate night and day, and we got some days that's pretty hot and not pretty hot. We got some days that's pretty cold, and got some day that's a little bit warmer. So Florida sounds pretty good right now to me. Alright. I just found it online. I did a little bit of Photoshop on it, so it doesn't look exactly the same. I think Google Images, is your good friend. And most of the, for the most part, unless it's like a person, like a model or celebrity or something like that, is usually pretty, you're usually pretty safe to paint from a photo you found in Google Image, especially a place like this. If you just search up evening in Rome, you'll probably find 10 or more photos of the exact same spot because people visit there, and that's the usual photo spot. You can take the photo there, so it's a very public space. so you can safely paint it there. I just picked the one that looks pretty straightforward. Okay, so just getting the drawing down. I'm not going to worry about perspective too much, mainly because we don't have time to do a very detailed painting. Most important part will be just to get that dome and the bridge. And what really caught my eyes is the light and the reflection of the light on the water. So this will be, that will be our main focus here. So I'm doing the drawing of the bridge a little bit more, a little bit tighter, a little bit more detailed, but still just, and again, like, I try not to lift my pencil as much as possible, just to kind of keep that train of thought going, keep that line flowing. You don't want to lift your pencil too much, okay? Just, here's a little boat here, I think. Actually, like a small cruise boat, cruise ship. It's probably for tourists. I'm just gonna very simply block that in. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. So somebody's asking me, is it smart to just go out and do plein air when you just get started? He asked me in Mandarin, so but it's English streaming, so I think I'll just answer it in English. So plein air, I will always encourage people to do plein air, right? It's just that I am not able to do a lot of plein air myself because traveling with kids, never a really easy thing, and I'm a little bit too nice to my wife. If I go out to do plein air for a couple hours, means I leave my 3 kids to her alone for my own pleasure, so I try not to do that. But if you can do plein air, go ahead and do that. However, if you just get started, go out and do plein air can be a very discouraging thing because it's very, very difficult. So while I'll say go out and experience, I will also say just take a sketchbook and just maybe do some pencil sketch or a little small paper and just paint very, very loosely, instead of trying to come up with a big, nice, complete painting, which is never a good move if you want to have a good masterpiece while out in plein air. Okay, plein air is more about experience, and I think I told this my student before that for me, plein air is like a test. It's like an exam, because you go out and you do plein air, which means you put everything you've learned into real world practice under time pressure, under the pressure of people looking at you, and you don't have anything to fall back to. Like if I ruin a painting at home, worst thing I can do is just to tear it up and do another one or whatever, and then I have a lot of reference in my hand and the computer. But if you're doing plein air outside, there's not a lot of things you can fall back to. So for me, it's like a test. So I will say try to do more complete painting at home. If you go out, do a little sketch of people and things, and hopefully that will just kind of get you into the groove of just doing some drawing and painting outside. But yeah, that being said, I will always encourage people go out and paint, mostly for the experience. Alright, so I am using a masking fluid pen, okay, because for the nicing this will be kind of necessary. So I'm just gonna put some dots here. Okay, so the benefit of this is that I don't need to dip that into the brush, and I can just kind of draw, if you would, the bright spot here. Okay, so a couple of the spot, so definitely the lamp that's giving out a lot of the light, so maybe I see 2 here as well. Okay, and some of these underneath here, underneath the bridge here, there's 2 here, and just very loosely get that in. I don't want to become like dot dot dot. Okay, nicing is not something that I do a lot, so hopefully I can pull it off. Okay, and I think maybe I'll do a little bit of reflection here as well, just so that I have a little bit less pressure on myself. So we have some light here, though. Here's the water here, so I'll just get some reflection in here, just to, again, very loose. This is like I'm drawing, so almost like I'm treating it like a paintbrush. So and then in a minute I'm gonna blow it dry, so the fluid will dry faster. The Amazon. Where else? Okay, so I'm gonna show my face because I was talking, I'm looking at the camera, and I forgot I actually turned it off. Alright, anyways, I'm gonna blow the dry real fast so I can do my first wash. Okay, so it's probably not completely dry, but at least I think the surface is dry, so I can do a first wash without melting the masking fluid, which will be a problem if I do. Alright, so we're doing a nicing, so which means that watercolor is still from light to dark. If you're working with oil or acrylic, you have the freedom to paint everything dark and just paint the light back in. For watercolor, you likely won't able to do that unless you want to do a lot of opaque watercolor on top, and I don't usually prefer that. And the brand of the masking fluid pen, I think this is Holbein. I'll probably put the link down below at the very end when this video goes out. Alright, so we'll try to preserve as much light as possible. Luckily, first wash is about light anyways, so just keep that in mind and don't make everything too complicated. Okay, so here we go. Take my big 16, actually 18 squirrel brush, and so this is the case that the sky is actually quite dark. That being said, we're not gonna make it pitch black or something like that. It's darker because still kind of have this evening tone to it. So give it a little bit of purple tone would be nice. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of purple here. So if I'm looking at a photo, it's still a little bit kind of bright on the top, okay, because we do get some ambient light from the sky. Either it's from the moon or the leftover sun, whatever that is. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson just to get that purple tone in. Maybe I should have tried that, but I actually watched the new painting tutorials from Andy Evenson. He actually wet the whole paper before he gets started, so I actually think that's a nice idea, so I might do that. Not for this painting, but my experience with that concept. So let me do a test here. Okay, that's nice and purple. Let's just go from here. Might need to be a little bit more blue, so here I'm gonna add a little bit more blue here. Okay, now down here I'm just gonna make sure it has enough wetness. Okay, if you are wondering about how wet it is, how wet it should be, if you don't see a nice bead here, it's not wet enough. Okay, so here I'm grabbing a smaller brush and I'm going to mix a nice warm light color. There's a little bit of light here, so I'm gonna just paint that in here. Okay, now I'm gonna just keep that brush going. So it's really important to have the first wash you go with the squirrel brush or natural hair brush because it holds a lot more water and paint. Okay, now starting to make it a little bit bluer. I'm actually gonna grab a little bit of cerulean blue here. Okay, I'll just paint over the dome, it's fine. The dome itself is actually darker than the sky, so now while we are doing our first wash, we can do our light here. So a little bit of light under the dome, so I'm just gonna paint that in, and also down here I'm just gonna paint some light in here. Okay, very easy. Don't stress on it too much, don't worry about it too much. Okay, and the paint can melt into each other. Okay, that's fine. Just work fast. Okay, you don't want the bead to dry. Okay, reload my brush a little bit. We want some of the bead to come back so I can continue that wash down. So I'm gonna stop the wash here. I'm just try to paint around the building a little bit because down here I'm just going to use dirty water here to finish this off. But over here I'm going to start to clean my brush first. I'm gonna grab some warm color and let's try to get some artificial lighting already. Yeah, just paint that in. Don't worry about it. A little bit warmer, so I'm gonna add some orange raw sienna. Nice and warm color. And just get that warm color in, that warm street light, artificial light in here. Now for scenery, for the scenery, If it's during the day, lights from top to bottom. At night, the artificial light take over. So that means most of the light come from bottom to top. So, which is another thing that's become a little bit unnatural for watercolor to do, because I'm also painting a little bit tilted, so the wash from will naturally flow down. So I need to really try to plan ahead and try to get that, try to preserve that light. Okay, so, but again, this is the first wash, so like any other painting, the first wash is about light and atmosphere. So I'm just gonna paint this over like that. You know, go a little bit bold and just, it's okay to be a little bit lighter. That's totally fine. Okay, and some very bright spot, the masking fluid is there, so don't worry about it. Okay, so a little bit of warmer, well, not warmer, darker color here, and start to fade back to blue here because of the sky. See how fast I'm trying to finish this wash? It's much more important to keep this wash nice and clean than try to get all the nuances and colors. Okay. Now let's try to remove some of the paint here. So if you look at this, okay, I have my masking fluid here, but I want a little bit more glow here, so I'm going to just use a damp brush, lift off some of the paint here like that. Okay, it's similar to doing a street painting when I'm doing those directional line. Okay, that's what this is about. Okay, make sure your brush is nice and damp. Okay, like almost like 80% is dry and clean. So I just lift up some of the paint here. It's not scrubbing, okay? Don't scrub it. Okay, just a little bit of paint and that will do. Okay. Well, the sky, I am not completely satisfied with it. I spent a little bit too much, so there's some stripes going on. But I think after I put in a little bit hints of cloud, that might solve it, because the sky has a little bit of cloud and it actually does have a little bit of stripe in the reference as well. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't stress on too much. And if you ever encounter this, you finish the wash, there's some part you are not completely happy with, please just leave it. Okay, don't mess with it. Okay, it wanted to dry, it wanted to settle down. Don't disturb it again. Even if you're not completely happy with it, might as well just let it dry. It's far more important to keep it clean. Okay, if you try to keep on digging to a drying wash, it's only going to mess it up. So please don't do that. Alright, finishing that little bead here. I'm just gonna blow it dry so we can continue the second wash. one paintbrush to add many color. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, my color mixing is pretty messy. I don't yeah, I don't have a really big I'm not really big on color series and stuff. Okay, let me just try to make it drier. I need to blow it dry a little bit more. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is to thoroughly clean my brush here, and I'm going to get a little bit of clean water. It's okay, Chrissy, you can watch the recording later. Thanks for trying to make it though. Alright. Okay. Alright, so I'm just gonna grab some clean water, and I'm just gonna re-wet some of the areas. Okay, be gentle on this, okay, because we already have a wash underneath, and you don't want to use too much water and scrape it too hard and lift up some of the painting. That won't be good. Okay, so I actually think that I can darken this a little bit. Okay, but because I pre-wet this area, so it will appear to be soft edge. I'll also try to soften this edge too. I just want a little bit darker here. Okay, and where I already darken, I can mix it nice and dry mixture. And within the wet area, use the tip of my brush and very, very delicately put a little bit of soft cloud in. Okay, very lightly just drop that paint in here. Okay, we just need a little bit, we don't need a whole lot. It is just to give it a little bit sense of something in the sky. Okay, I'm gonna wet the top part here as well. And same thing, just gonna try to drop a little bit of the paint here. So just a little bit darker blue, purple color. And that's pretty much it. We just need a little bit of the cloud here. Okay, just that little bit of cloud here. Okay, getting rid of some of the water edge here. Okay, and just leave it. That's really not the purpose of the painting. We just want a little bit thing there. Okay, so now let's starting to work on the dome and work our way down. Okay, so a little bit dark, but just a little bit warmer. So darker and also warmer. There's a little bit of green tint to it. I suppose it's sort of like this bronze color during the day. Never been there myself, so it'll be hard for me to say. Let's just get started. Okay, this part is mostly dry, so I should be able to just paint right on it. Okay, try not to smear the paint here. Okay, okay, just delicately put, and we have some. Actually, we need to make it just a little bit warmer. It feels a little bit too saturated here. Okay, just. Okay, here, that's all we need for the top here and the bottom here. Let's just start to get that dome in. Now, here's the interesting part, okay? The dome, when it's daytime, you usually get some sun and you have some roundness shadow here. Okay? So it's usually brighter on the top and darker on the bottom because of the lighting. In this case, we have light coming from the bottom. So what we're going to do is I'm just gonna use clean water and just to soften that. Okay. So there we have starting to have a little bit of transition going on, and just some architectural detail. I'm just gonna randomly put preserve the light at all cost. Give it some dark punch here while it is still wet. May I actually try to give it just a little bit more dark here. Yeah, a little bit dark here, and just try to connect that a little bit. Same thing here. All right, and actually some warmth in here because it's starting to get some of those artificial light shooting upwards. So even though there's some shadows and stuff, it's mostly going to be quite warm. So here we have that. Not very detailed, I have to say. Very loosely paint. I just want to suggest details. I am not here to drive you to sleep with 1,000 brushstroke. Hello from Italy. So you know this place. I am not gonna pretend I understand this. I just hope that you're not going to yell at me for not doing it justice. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of like a semi-damp brush. I'm gonna soften some of the shapes, but I'm also actually gonna add a little bit of orange. Okay, it's good to kind of step back once in a while, look at the overall picture. Okay, it's important to not to bog down on all the little details that I am trying to paint, and look at the overall picture, the overall relationship. Is it doing what I wanted to do? Okay, it's going a little bit too dark down here. I'm gonna use a semi-dry damp brush to lift up some of the paint here. Okay. And it's just warm and cool. I am not really thinking about color that much right now. So if you see me mixing color in a very messy way, that's just the way I work. I tend not to overthink on things. I mean, I trust my eyes that I'm looking at the right color, and okay, leave some random white. That's always going to make your painting look just a little bit more interesting. Okay. Okay, so there are little bits and pieces of light here, but they're not as nearly as bright as other light, so it doesn't have a lot of glow to it, just some hot spot and less all. So I'm just gonna randomly leave those. Okay, darker and a little bit warmer here. So it looks like it gets warmer here. Okay, even if it's darker, it gets a little bit warmer here. But as it goes to the side, it becomes a little bit cooler because it's going away from all the lights. So there's some really bright windows and stuff. I'll try to leave it, but very, very random right now. But all we want to do is just to preserve some light, and that's all. So really don't stress yourself out. Okay. Just let the brush dance on your paper and not overthink anything. Okay, just think about preserving some light. Okay, take a little bit of the care. Okay, make sure the blue is not super blue. You want to keep that neutral feeling overall. You don't want anything to really jump out color-wise. Okay. So I think one of the benefits that I work the way I'm mixing paint is that it will more or less be more harmonious because they all kind of came from the same dirty well, if you would. Okay. All right. Sorry, so double checking if everything is set up right. Okay, here I'm gonna switch back to my bigger brush. Okay, and just going to mix a warm color because this what the most stuff down here is warm, and I am just going to try to get those shape in. I can paint on layers if it's darker, like the roof here and the roof here. I can paint them darker. Okay, but I'll try not to make this too complicated in this wash. Okay, so a little bit of purple, actually, a little bit of purple tint here. So a little bit of wet on wet color, let them mix their color by themselves. And yeah, I'm looking at the photo, it's so pretty. I really want to go there one day. And there's a lot of places I really want to visit, but I think I will have to wait till I am a little bit more capable to travel. with all the kids and stuff. I mean, kind of feel like an excuse because I feel like I have 3 kids. I don't do a lot of traveling, but maybe we should start doing that. But at least wait for my 3rd kids are completely potty trained and able to sleep better in any bed. Okay. Okay, so look at this. Okay, we got that light to dark here. Now I'm just need to, this is dry enough. I just need to finish off this side. Okay, I'm gonna make this really warm down here. You can actually add just some more warm color wet onto wet right now, while I still have time. It's still kind of wet. I'm actually gonna spray a little bit, keep things wet just a little bit longer. And okay, I think I'm gonna try to take a risk here, mixing a nice dry looking color. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of detail here, architectural detail. It's dried enough so it will maintain a little bit of shape, but it will remain soft for the most part. Okay, like the most reason is because I don't want to keep everything very harsh, and I want a lot of things just kind of blend into the light. So like this roof I will finish later on, but here I can just give it a little bit of touches here and there. Okay, squeeze out some of the water, and I will just give it a little bit of light spot here. Okay, and a little bit of stuff here. Very quickly, very playfully. Okay. Now, that said, I think I can start to paint this side of the building now. I will keep them mostly pretty dark and simple. How are you guys doing? You guys are really quiet, which is fine with me. I'm just, hopefully you guys are not fall asleep. I feel like I'm asking this question every single time I'm doing a live stream. Okay, so there's some trees and whatever. Honestly, not that important. The most important shape is probably here. This, need to give it a nice roof shape here. Okay, I need a bigger brush. Okay, whenever I feel that I am not able to paint as big as I want to, I will switch a brush like this. Okay, this is much easier. If I use my synthetic brush and try to just stab my way through, that's going to look really bad. I really don't want that. Okay. You're mesmerized. Thank you. That should be my slogan. Like, Eric Lynn the Mesmerizer. Okay. Alright. So down here, still kind of dark, but warm. Okay, so, okay, while it is still all pretty wet, so we won't lose that soft transition here. Okay, some dry brush under here, so it will give us some random detail, which I am too lazy to figure out. Too lazy, and I'm not capable to figure out those details. A little bit of warmth here. Seeing that house is actually pretty red in the daylight, so we'll give it a little bit of that. Alright. Look at that, we're already starting to see transitions. How about that? Okay. Take a look at what I've done so far, and okay, I'm not gonna do too much here. I'd rather keep it sort of nice and clean. Oops. Yeah, I don't really like that shape, but I think it's past the time I should mess with it, so I'm just gonna leave it, continue down on the bridge here. Yeah, I'll take my big brush. I am not going to use a small brush for this. I mean, Escoda has a really good brush, so I can still use just the tip of my brush and give it some nice little shape like this. So here we go. Thank you, Hyunjin Kim. Sorry, what's that? Hyunjin Kim. Okay, thank you. I'm horrible with names, so if I misspoke your name or anything, please forgive me. Okay, so the bridge, okay, we'll make sure you leave that highlight here, okay? That's pretty important. There's probably some street light or cars or people or whatever that is, but there's definitely quite a bit of light there across the bridge, so we want to kind of keep that. This is not completely dry yet, so I'm taking my chance here, but here, okay, so I'll make it a little bit warmer. Okay, so we have light here. Okay, so those supports of the bridge. Okay, so we have probably actually 2 or 3 lights here, so it's kind of spreading out like that. So keeping that in mind, I'm just going to paint some big shape here. Just here, 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 keeping the light, right? Very simple here, okay? Keeping it nice and easy, okay? Okay, and very quickly, I'll take a little bit smaller brush and just kind of nice damp brush and soften this edge like that. So we'll soften that dark shape so the edge will be soft, so the edge will be softer. So already you start to see there's a spreading out, like the light is kind of fanning out. So it's a little bit unnatural to kind of think that way, because if you're painting with oil or acrylic, you can just paint the light in, so it'll be a lot easier. So that's why a night scenery is usually not a preferred subject for watercolor, but we like challenge. Well, I actually don't like challenge, but I thought it would be interesting, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this as well. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but if you just start watercolor, don't try this subject. It's just going to be confusing. So, but here we go. Okay, quite a bit of detail on the bridge structure. Again, I am not going to do those, just mostly because I don't want the trouble. Okay, so whoops, that's a little bit too red. Okay, get a little bit. Okay, so I actually want to continue this down. Oh, by the way, here's a little thing I'm gonna try. So this is almost dry, but I think I can scratch off some of the paint here, like that. Okay, you can do that when the paint is almost dry. Okay, some places completely dry, it's not going to work, but we still got a little bit of things here, so I can maybe kind of scratch out a little bit of architectural detail. And here with palette knife or with your fingernail, this is what I'll do. Okay, a little bit of that here as well. Okay, but yeah, mostly just a little trick that I do here, but nothing that important. But I do want to explain what I'm doing here. Okay, so okay, I think there's some bolts or structure down here, so I'm just going to leave a little bit of highlight. Whatever that is actually not even that important, but just break up the shape a little bit. That'll always be good. Oops, forgot to move the camera, sorry. Let me actually just move it down, and we can still include quite a bit. Watching it comfortably on my large TV. No, that's great. Good place to enjoy that. I mean, I suppose that back in the days when Bob Ross is on TV, that's how most people enjoy him. So, okay. But I really need to admit that I paint nowhere near as fast as him. Like, I don't know how he's able to do that every single time. He can finish one painting in like 20 minutes without feeling like he's rushing or anything. He just speaks like really softly and just little, yeah, I don't know. Probably helped that he paint pretty much is the same subject every single time, but still, that's very impressive of him. I'm actually thinking to do a very simple scenery next time, like very, very super simple scenery next time. Lately, I've been feeling that a lot of very powerful images are not necessarily a very complex image. If you look at some of the Andrew Wyeth's painting, his subject is quite simple, the image is quite simple, just a tree or something, but the image itself is just really powerful, and it's something that I want to start to attempt. it's fine if you know it is too dry, then leave it. Alexei, if you do know it's too dry, then leave it. I give some tip in my course how to kind of judge it. I actually wrote a blog about it too. You know, but the main thing is that if you know it is too dry, then leave it. Don't even attempt to do anything to it, because more likely you're going to mess it up. Okay, the bridge down here, this is really dark. I think the reason for that is that the light is actually on top of this, and the light is going out as a cone. So there's a directionality of the light, so it doesn't flood back in. So the bottom of the bridge support here, what is it called? Bridge lake or something? I have no idea. Sorry, there's some I'm lacking some vocabularies here. Okay. Thank you. Hopefully you'll come back and finish the rest of the video if possible. There we go. Okay, so try to connect this into some shapes here, and the shape will connect into this boat here, which I'm not planning to give a lot of detail like at all. It will mostly just be something like this. This will be a very loose painting. The key is to capture the light and atmosphere. That's all I really want to achieve. So it's a little bit of red here. Like if it end up doesn't look like a boat, I have no problem with it. It just need to be some shape and color and light and dark. That's it. It can be completely abstract. If it doesn't, if it's not like essential to the painting, if it's not essential to the story of the painting, it's just a nice thing with water and bridge, and that's about it. So certain things like this boat here, if it's not an essential part of the image, it doesn't have to be very literal. Okay, so just some dark down here while it's still wet. Bang, bang, bang. And, okay, so give it some dark here. Finish up that shape here. Okay. Okay, so let's work on the water while we're at it. The water actually look kind of good as is, but we need some reflection. Okay, and for this water, I'm just gonna keep it nice and smooth. Like most reflection will be soft, so I'm just going to start to wet some of the area. Okay, and as long as we can finish this in one go, I think we will be fine. So mostly warmer here, reflecting the color off there. Okay, mostly warmer here, a little bit cooler here because of the boat. Okay, and can just Grab water, finish that off. I will give it just a little bit hints of ripple like this with just this dirty water. After it's dry, it will give just enough texture and suggestion here. Now it's time for magic. So I'm gonna zoom in so you can enjoy the magic in the closer view. Okay, so now make sure it is not dry just yet, and just drop in some colors here while it is still quite wet here. Some really, yeah, try not to be afraid of going a little bit more saturated here. When they dry, they're gonna be fade off quite a bit, so I'm taking a little bit leap of faith here. That's all that is, a leap of faith. You never know how watercolor is gonna turn out, so why give yourself the pressure? Just go for it, right? Just like life, never know how it's gonna turn out, so just give it your best shot and let God or whoever in control take over. In this case, I just let watercolor do the work. I'm alleviate my stress and my control to watercolor. I am merely trying to suggest it what to do. A little bit of ripple won't hurt. It's gonna be very soft anyways, so there we go. Is your palette a Holbein 350? I don't know. I got it in Japan, but yes, it is from Holbein. Good eye, actually. Okay, so squeezing my brush, squeeze the moisture out. I'm just going to give it some disturb in the water. A few dry line to pick up a little bit of paint and see how dry that is. Still a little bit moist but dry, and just gonna do that very easily. Not too much, just a few spots. Okay. Alright, I do think this can be a little bit too saturated, so I'm going to lift up some of the paint here. Or maybe I shouldn't, I don't know, but it is still pretty wet, so I can just add a little bit of raw sienna and neutralize that a little bit. But okay, I think now is a good time to keep my hands off for now. Okay. But I do think we need a little bit more darker stuff down here, so you'll still have time to do that. Just gonna go for it. Okay, and start to make things just a little bit cooler down here. Just make sure your mixture is dry enough when you are doing this, because when you're working wet onto wet, what you want to put down, if you do want to preserve, you need them to be a little bit darker. You need them to be a little bit drier mixture. Otherwise, it's not going to last. All right. Okay, so I got a little bit few more details to do here, but they are quite simple. And I can do those while I'm waiting for the bottom to dry. I'll try to do that to save some time so I don't need to blow this dry. Okay, so let's move up a little bit back to the building here. Okay, so first of all, I need to paint the rooftop here. Okay. And a little bit of architectural detail here. Let's bring some of the window back. Okay, a little bit of line for architectural detail. Okay, there are some more stuff here that needs to be resolved as well. So I'm gonna come here, but again, they should be pretty simple. Okay, it shouldn't be a very complicated thing at all. Just a couple of the sharp heart shape. I'll soften it down here. Okay, it's a couple of the heart shape that will start to give you a little bit of definition of what that is. I think there's a tree here. Is that tree? Yeah, probably. So, but it's a shape here. All I know is a dark shape, so I'm just gonna do that very loosely. And the reason I think it's a shape because I can faintly see the tree trunk. So try to do that. Have a little bit thinner shape here. Okay, a little smaller, thin brush stroke that can also help out. And let's come back here and start to a little bit warmer. Okay, there's some darker side here. Okay, give it a little bit darker tone here and a little bit up here as well. Okay, try to squint your eyes once in a while. You don't want all the details to take over, because when you're looking at your reference, that's all you're focusing on, details, and then you pretty much just ruin your painting if you try to stuck on detail. Okay, a little bit tree here as well, just a little bit of free shape going on. And let's move okay, I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of leftover colors on my palette and just give it a little bit more definition. And that's really all we need for this guy. And the rest of this just some abstract shape. Bigger brush. I think the longer I paint watercolor, the less I start to use smaller brush, because it's really just all about the big shape. And to get to that big shape faster, bigger brush is just a lot more useful. So I rarely go really small anymore unless I'm painting figure or something like that, which is something I also suggest a lot of my students do, just to ditch the little hair rigger line, hair rigger brush. Just try to paint with bigger brush. I mean, even brush like that this big, you can still paint some nice smaller shape. So okay, need to get rid of some of the highlights, getting a little bit overall too bright here. Okay, let's look at the whole painting. All right. Okay, a few more touches and we'll rip off, well, not rip off, that sounds scary. Then we'll try to remove the masking fluid and we'll go from there. Might need to have a little bit of gouache to get some of the light back, but we'll see. I try not to do that as much as possible. So, okay. Get some of the dark shape back here. Okay, we want some nice hard shape here. It's the rail of the bridge, which will really just define that. Okay. Be a little bit bolder here. Don't worry about stuff too much. But yeah, see some of that bigger, harder shape and brushstroke really helps things to pop out. Okay, I do want a little bit of separation between this building and the rest of the stuff here too, so just a little bit of value here, and that hard edge would just make this building pops out. Okay, it's all about visual language, edge treatment, decision making. All right, let me blow this dry, and we will remove the masking fluid. It's a little bit of antenna or something. I'm just gonna put that in. I think it's kind of interesting. Okay. All right, let's do that. Thank you, fun stuff. All right, gonna show my face a little bit so you can see me drink water. Okay, I'm just gonna remove the masking fluid, so we'll take a little bit of time. During those times, we can just talk about random stuff. But some people use a specific tool like a rubber eraser or something like that. I just use my finger, just kind of gently, just gently peel that off. They shouldn't be too, don't scratch it really hard. This is not a lottery. Okay, so just very gently peel that off. Okay. If I'm making a pre-recorded video, I'll skip this part, but here. Oh, no problem. I go live usually once, every other week or every week. I do Mandarin live stream now, so probably every other week for English. But at the same time, don't worry about it, because all the live stream I leave it on for YouTube, so you can definitely come back and check it out. Is that all, the masking fluid? I should have put a little bit masking fluid here. Okay. But now look at that. The masking fluid is removed, so we got some nice sharp reflection light here. Now, let me see. Do think we need to darken some of the areas though. This is not looking the way I want to, but should be fairly easy to do. Okay, so just very easily get some of the dark shape in, and that's pretty much it. I'm actually gonna try to make it a little bit cooler as well. But thank you for subscribing. Fun stuff. I don't know your name, just go by your YouTube name. Okay, so yeah. After this is darker, it separates the bridge from the background a little bit more, so that's nice. Again, it's very simple. I'm not crazy about doing anything too difficult. Okay, maybe a couple of the ripples here to break that harsh light line, but okay. But now there's something we probably need to do. These lines are a little bit too sharp. I didn't have the chance to make a softer shape here, so I'm going to just re-wet some of these areas, and here as well actually. Okay, where else do I need to, oh, miss the spot. Okay, so here too. And I'm just going to grab a white gouache just straight out of a tube, and I'll just put those white gouache in a wet area. Okay, because I put it wet, it will sort of bleed out a little bit, just to make things a little bit softer. Oops, miss another spot. Okay. Okay. I think we can sort of fill in some of the light here. Yeah, there's sometimes I have to use gouache to get the stuff back. And there's a little bit different feeling to have masking fluid versus gouache, because masking fluid, the edge is so sharp, it can kind of break the illusion a little bit. You know. What time is it now? 10:39. I am right on time. Clicked on the bell. Yeah, try to subscribe to my email list as well, so I'll try to notify everybody before I'm going live, if that live is planned. Sometimes I don't plan to go live, but I just hit the live button and I just go. But usually I'll try to notify you when I'm about to go live. Well, not about, like usually like a day before or like the morning. But yeah, I hit that bell. It sounds like a YouTube cliche thing to say, but I guess it works. So try to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it for you guys to choose. There's a tree here in the photo. I wonder if I should put it in. Let me step back a little bit and look at the overall painting. Should I put a tree in? Yeah, I actually think I'll probably just leave it. I kind of like how much stuff is down here, so I think try to keep the sky clear in this case might look better. Okay. I do feel the water still needs to be a little bit darker. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Alexei. Okay. I am going to... Okay. Let's do this. I'm gonna give it a little bit of glaze here. Okay, I did peel off the masking fluid already, so I actually need to be a little bit careful not to paint over too much of the light spot, but I do want the water to feel a little bit deeper. Right now it looks a little bit too light. But I think, you know, a little bit of tint on that light ripple, it's not gonna hurt that much because it's so white. Give it a little bit of color tint. It's not gonna ruin it. Okay. Okay. A little bit darker here and here, and I'm thinking to give it some more darker ripples here. Just relax and paint that in. Yeah, I think that makes the water looks a little bit deeper. That's actually good. Yeah, like give it some dark reflection here, just so that it separates it just a little bit more, so it feels like the reflection starts here, as well as the building or architecture is giving a little bit of hints of the shadow here, down here as well. Watercolor is fun, but it's probably the most frustrating thing you will encounter. But think of watercolor as somebody you build relationship with instead of a medium that will work for you. So respect the property of watercolor and it will respect you. So that's the only thing I can really say to you as an overall general thing about watercolor, is that you don't control that, you let it work with you. So understand watercolor as a medium by itself is very, very important. So try to understand it, try to work with it, and try to relax, not to control it, and just let it do its things. That's what I've been doing, for the past hour and a half. Just let it do. The only difference is that I understand how watercolor work, sort of. not gonna say I understand everything, and still there's always this unpredictability of watercolor. So yeah, it can be frustrated, especially if you're trying to control it. Acrylic oil is a lot easier in terms of that. Watercolor is really about just letting watercolor do its thing. So okay, so I hope you enjoy this painting. Here's the final painting. Maybe I can switch the camera. I like the color on this one too, it's a lot more accurate. So yeah, here's the final painting. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I don't know if I'm gonna touch it up or anything, but that's that. I hope you guys enjoy that and have a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are. And I will see you guys again very, very soon. Bye.